Every minute that passes, someone in this country develops fatty liver disease. By the time you finish this sentence, 3 more people just joined them. Every year, liver disease kills almost 2 million people worldwide. It ranks as a leading cause of death after the age of 50, and is now the #1 reason people in this country need a liver transplant. The part nobody tells you clearly enough is that in the vast majority of cases, your body gives you very specific warnings, months or even years, before serious damage shows up. You just have to know what they look like. Look, I know those numbers sound dramatic, but there really is a version of this where you feel a little more tired than you used to. Your blood work comes back with liver numbers slightly off, and your doctor says to recheck it in a year. You start feeling a dull fullness on the right side of your belly. You wake up at 3 in the morning with no idea why. Your skin looks a little duller in the mirror. Most people just blame it on age. And yes, certain things do happen with time. But in my opinion, almost all of this gets blamed on age when something else is actually driving it underneath. And the reason I care about this so much is that I see it constantly in the patients I work with. Adults arriving in my office with serious liver problems that started developing decades earlier, while they were doing things every single day that they had no idea were quietly damaging this organ. But I also see the opposite. Adults whose liver function looks the same as somebody half their age, whose blood work comes back clean year after year, who never even think about their liver because it just keeps doing its job quietly in the background. The difference between those two groups is almost never genetics. It is the habits, the daily ones, that either protect this organ or quietly destroy it. So what we are going to talk about today are 10 specific habits that damage your liver. I am going to count them down from 10 to 1, with the worst one last. And at the end, I will give you a simple framework for putting all of this into practice, because that is the part most people never quite figure out. From around the age of 40, your liver starts changing in ways that almost nobody warns you about. It becomes a little less efficient at processing fat. It becomes a little slower at clearing toxins. It becomes more sensitive to the things you eat, drink, and absorb every day. That sounds like nothing. A small slowdown in one organ does not sound like much, but run those numbers forward 20 years, and what you have is a liver that is quietly accumulating damage from habits that did not seem to bother you at all in your 30s. The clinical term for this is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and it now affects roughly 30% of adults globally, with the rate climbing higher after the age of 60. Most people who have it do not know. There are no symptoms in the early stages. The liver does not have nerve endings that can feel pain in the way other organs can. It just keeps working, until one day it cannot. A study following over 25,000 adults found that those with unaddressed fatty liver disease had a significantly higher rate of cardiovascular events, type 2 diabetes, and kidney complications than those whose liver health was identified and supported early. And another major review confirmed that fatty liver disease has now become the leading cause of liver transplants in this country, surpassing alcohol-related liver damage. So this is not fixed. It is not inevitable. The time to start paying attention is well before things show up on a scan or a blood test. Here is something most people never think about. Your liver is the only organ in your body that quietly accumulates damage like compound interest in a savings account. Except in this account, the interest works against you. Every habit that harms it adds a small deposit. The damage compounds year after year, while you feel nothing. The balance grows quietly in the background. And then one day, in your 60s or 70s, the bill arrives all at once, as elevated enzymes on a routine blood test, as inflammation on a scan, as a hospital admission for something the liver was supposed to have caught and processed years ago. The 10 habits I am about to walk you through are the deposits. Stop making them, and the account stops growing. Stop them long enough, and your liver starts paying you back with healing instead. Number 10 on the list, and the one that surprises everybody, is believing in liver detox products. I want you to hear this clearly, There is no such thing as a liver detox. The liver is itself the detoxifier. It is the organ that filters everything you absorb. The idea that you can pour something else into your body to clean an organ whose entire job is to clean things is one of the strangest pieces of marketing in the modern wellness industry. And here is the thing that nobody is going to tell you when they sell you these products. Some of them actually damage the liver. There is well-documented research linking high-dose green tea extract supplements to liver inflammation. Same with certain herbal blends sold for cleansing purposes. The very products people buy hoping to help their liver, in some cases, end up sending people to the hospital with liver injury. If you take supplements, talk to your doctor or a pharmacist about which ones interact with your liver function. The liver is one of the most sensitive organs to compounds that get absorbed into the bloodstream. Supplements are not regulated the way medications are. The dose can vary from bottle to bottle, and the long-term effects on liver tissue are often unstudied. So save your money. The liver does not need a special detox product. It needs you to stop putting harmful things into your body so it can do its actual job. Number 9 on the list is ultra-processed food. Now, most people hear ultra-processed and think they know what this means: cookies, candy, junk food. But the actual definition is much broader, and it includes foods that look healthy in the grocery store, cereal bars marketed as a healthy breakfast, vegetable chips labeled organic, plant-based meat substitutes, flavored yogurts, granola, most protein bars, many breakfast cereals, frozen meals, packaged sandwich bread, lunch meats, most salad dressings, spice blends with anti-caking agents. The defining feature is not the calorie count or the fat content. It is the ingredient list. If a food contains emulsifiers, artificial flavors, hydrogenated oils, color additives, or preservatives that you would not find in a home kitchen, it qualifies as ultra-processed. What this category does to your liver is specific. The emulsifiers and additives appear in research to disrupt the gut lining, which allows inflammatory compounds to leak into your bloodstream. Those compounds reach the liver, which then has to manage chronic low-level inflammation as a daily background condition. Over years, that constant inflammatory load is what drives the slow buildup of fat in the liver. A meta-analysis published in the BMJ examined ultra-processed food intake across 10 million adults and found that those eating the highest amounts had a measurably higher rate of multiple chronic conditions, including liver disease, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. The fix is simpler than people think. Build your meals around foods that do not have an ingredient list: a piece of fish, a bowl of vegetables, an egg, a potato. Real food does not need a label because it is already what your body needs. Number 8 on the list is sugary drinks. This one catches a lot of people off guard. They have already cut out soda. They are drinking what they think are healthier alternatives, and they have no idea those alternatives are sometimes worse. Fruit juices, sweetened iced teas, lemonade, sports drinks, flavored coffee drinks, sweetened almond milk and oat milk. Even some kombuchas, which sound healthy, can contain 12 to 15 grams of added sugar per bottle. The problem with these drinks is that they deliver concentrated sugar directly into your bloodstream without any fiber or protein to slow it down. The liver gets hit with a flood of sugar all at once, and the liver, when it cannot use the sugar immediately, converts it into a type of fat called triglycerides. Some of those triglycerides get stored in the liver itself. This process is fast. Studies have shown measurable changes in liver fat after just 2 weeks of consistent fructose-heavy beverage consumption. Now, I am not saying one glass of orange juice is going to ruin your liver. The issue is daily habit. Drinking these beverages every day, multiple times a day, over months and years, is what produces the damage. One glass of fresh orange juice on a Sunday morning is not what we are talking about. A daily routine of fruit juice with breakfast, sweetened tea with lunch, and a sports drink in the afternoon is exactly what is filling the liver with fat that does not belong there. The fix is straightforward: water as the default, plain coffee or tea if you want flavor. If you want something sweet, eat the actual fruit instead of drinking the juice. The fiber in whole fruit slows the sugar absorption and protects your liver from the flood. Number 7 on the list is poor sleep, and this one most people never connect to their liver. Here is a really quick test for you. Think about the last 7 nights. How many of them gave you 7 to 8 hours of solid sleep? If the answer is fewer than 4, your liver is paying a price you have not been told about. Sleep is when your liver does most of its repair work. It is when stored fat gets processed, when toxins get cleared, when inflammation gets reduced. When you sleep less than 6 hours a night consistently, that overnight repair window shrinks. Damage from the day before does not get fully cleared. By the time you fall asleep the next night, the liver is already starting from a deficit. There is a study that has stuck with me from years ago. Researchers tracked over 200,000 adults across multiple decades. The participants who consistently slept less than 6 hours a night had a 30% higher rate of fatty liver disease than those who slept 7 to 8 hours, even when the researchers adjusted for diet, weight, and exercise. Sleep itself was the variable. There is also the issue of sleep apnea, which is dramatically underdiagnosed. If you snore heavily, wake up gasping, or feel exhausted in the morning, despite sleeping for 7 or 8 hours, sleep apnea is worth investigating. Untreated sleep apnea has been directly linked to fatty liver disease in multiple peer-reviewed studies. The fix here is 2 parts. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep in a dark, cool room, with no screens for the last hour before bed. And if you suspect sleep apnea, ask your doctor for a sleep study. Treating sleep apnea has been shown to reduce liver enzyme abnormalities in many patients within 3 months. If sleep has been a struggle for you, the liver is one more reason to take it seriously. Sleep is not optional rest. It is the only window your liver has every day to actually repair itself. Number 6 on the list is something different from ultra-processed food, even though they sound similar at first. Refined carbohydrates eaten as a daily habit. Specifically, the foods made from white flour and white rice that get treated as the foundation of meals. Toast every morning, pasta several nights a week, white rice with most dinners, a sandwich on white bread every lunch, a bowl of cereal as a snack. Why are these different from ultra-processed foods? Because plain white bread or plain white rice does not necessarily have a long ingredient list. It is just flour and water. But the issue here is not the additives. It is the speed at which these foods become sugar in your bloodstream. When you eat a slice of white bread, your body breaks it down to glucose within 15 to 20 minutes. The glucose floods into your bloodstream. Your pancreas releases insulin to manage it. Your muscles take what they need, and whatever is left over goes to the liver, which converts it into stored fat. If this happens once in a while, the liver clears the load. If it happens 3 or 4 times a day for years, the liver fills up with fat it cannot release fast enough. Here is the better choice. Switch to higher fiber alternatives where you can. Whole grain sourdough bread instead of white, brown rice instead of white, beans, lentils, and oats as your starches more often, fruit instead of pastries. The fiber matters more than people realize. Fiber slows down how fast carbohydrates get converted into sugar, which means your liver gets a steady trickle instead of a flood. The same total amount of carbohydrate, processed in a way that is much gentler on the liver. Number 5 on the list is a sedentary lifestyle, and this one matters in a way that has nothing to do with weight loss. If you are spending more than 8 hours a day sitting and not making up for it with regular movement, your liver is being affected even if your weight has not changed. Why? Because muscle is the second largest place your body stores blood sugar. When you sit for hours, your muscles are not absorbing sugar from your bloodstream. The liver has to deal with all of it, and the excess gets converted to liver fat. Here is another quick test. Stand up right now. Do 30 calf raises. Just lift your heels up and down. If you struggled to make it to 30 without resting, your lower body is undertrained, which means it is not pulling its weight in glucose management. The fix is not what most people think. It is not joining a gym. It is breaking up sitting time throughout the day. Stand up every hour. Walk for 10 minutes after each meal. Take the stairs when you can. Park further from the entrance. Do calf raises while you brush your teeth. These small movements, repeated dozens of times across the day, change how much sugar your muscles absorb, which directly reduces the load on your liver. The official guideline is 150 minutes of moderate activity per week. That works out to about 22 minutes a day. A walk after dinner, a morning stroll, a bike ride on the weekend. It does not have to be intense. It just has to be consistent. What is interesting about movement and the liver is how fast the response is. Multiple studies have shown that adults who go from sedentary to walking 30 minutes daily see measurable drops in their liver enzyme readings within 8 to 12 weeks. The liver responds to movement in a way that almost no other organ does. Number 4 is alcohol. Now let me set a comment goal here. After this section, drop a comment below telling me how often you drink alcohol in a typical week. Honest answer, no judgment. Now back to alcohol. The old advice that 1 glass of red wine a day is good for your heart has been quietly walked back by major health organizations over the last 5 years, as better research has emerged. The cardiovascular benefit, if it exists at all, is small. The liver damage from regular drinking is real, measurable, and cumulative. Later in life, the damage is amplified. Your liver processes alcohol roughly 30% more slowly than it did at 30. The same drink takes longer to clear. The exposure time is longer. The damage is greater. If you have been told you have fatty liver, the answer for alcohol is simple: 0. No exceptions. Even small amounts can accelerate progression from simple fatty liver to inflammation to scarring. If your liver is healthy, the moderate guideline used to be 1 drink per day for women and 2 for men. The newer research suggests that lower is better and 0 is best. If you choose to drink, keep it occasional, not daily, and know that every drink has a cost your liver pays for over the next 24 to 48 hours. Many of the patients I see with significant liver damage from drinking did not consider themselves heavy drinkers. They had 2 glasses of wine with dinner most nights, a beer at the weekend barbecue. None of it felt like a problem in the moment, but added up across 30 years, those drinks created the damage they are now trying to reverse. Drinking less is one of the highest impact changes anyone can make for their liver. Number 3 is untreated thyroid problems. This is one almost nobody connects to the liver, but the connection is real and well documented. Your thyroid is the gland that controls your metabolism. When the thyroid is underactive, a condition called hypothyroidism, your entire metabolism slows down, including the part of metabolism that processes fat in your liver. The liver, working slower than it should, accumulates fat more easily. Fatty liver and hypothyroidism are so closely linked that some doctors now recommend thyroid testing for anyone with elevated liver enzymes. The signs of an underactive thyroid are easy to miss because they overlap with what people assume is aging: fatigue, cold hands and feet, weight gain that does not match your eating habits, dry skin, hair thinning, constipation, brain fog, low mood. If several of those describe you, ask your doctor for a thyroid panel, specifically TSH, free T4, and free T3. The basic TSH test that most doctors order can miss subtle thyroid problems. The full panel gives a more complete picture. Treating thyroid issues where they exist often produces clear improvements in liver function within 3 to 6 months. The 2 systems are linked. Fix one, and the other often improves on its own. Number 2 is saturated fat overload. The conversation around fat has been confusing for the last 20 years. Here is the practical version of what we now know. Some saturated fat is fine. It is part of many whole foods, and your body uses it. The problem is overload. The kind that comes from frying with butter or lard daily, eating fatty cuts of red meat several times a week, eating large amounts of cheese every day, and using coconut oil as if it is a health food. Coconut oil, despite the marketing, is one of the most saturated fats in any common cooking oil. It is not a health food. Some people who switched to coconut oil thinking it would help their cholesterol or their liver ended up with worse markers, not better. The replacement is simple. Use extra virgin olive oil for most cooking. Use avocado oil for higher heat. Eat fatty fish like salmon, sardines, or mackerel a few times a week instead of fatty red meat. Choose lean proteins more often. Use butter occasionally, not as a daily base. About a year ago, I noticed my own cholesterol numbers had started creeping up at my annual checkup. Nothing dramatic, just enough that I needed to look at what was driving it. So I tracked everything I cooked with for 2 weeks. The numbers genuinely surprised me. Within 2 months of switching to olive oil for most cooking, my cholesterol numbers came back into the range I wanted. So when I tell you the type of fat you cook with matters, I am also telling you it matches what I saw firsthand. Your liver processes different fats differently. Olive oil and the omega-3 fats in fatty fish actually support liver health. Excess saturated fat, particularly from processed sources, drives liver fat accumulation. And before number one more thing I want to mention briefly. Crash dieting and rapid weight loss is its own form of liver damage that nobody warns adults about. I see this in the office regularly. Someone is told they have fatty liver. They panic. They start an extreme diet. They lose 15 pounds in 4 weeks. Their next blood test shows their liver enzymes are worse, not better. Why? Because rapid weight loss, especially more than 1 to 1.5 pounds per week, dumps a flood of stored fat into the bloodstream. The liver has to process all of that fat at once. The liver gets overwhelmed. Inflammation rises. Damage accelerates. If you have fatty liver and are working to lose weight, slow and steady is the only safe approach. Half a pound to 1 pound per week. No fasting protocols longer than 16 hours without medical supervision. No juice cleanses. No extreme low-calorie diets. Sustainable weight loss protects the liver. Crash dieting damages it. And number one on the list is excess body weight, particularly around the middle. The single biggest predictor of fatty liver disease is the amount of fat your body is carrying around your midsection. This is the fat that sits around your organs, including the liver itself. Doctors call it visceral fat, and it is metabolically very different from the fat you can pinch on your arms or thighs. Visceral fat releases inflammatory compounds directly into the blood that flows through your liver. Year after year, that inflammation drives liver damage. The more visceral fat you carry, the higher your risk of fatty liver, regardless of what your overall weight looks like. Here is why this matters more than the number on a scale. You can be at a normal weight and still carry too much visceral fat. The clinical term for this is metabolically obese normal weight. It affects up to 20% of adults who appear thin but have significant abdominal fat accumulation. The simple at-home check is your waist circumference. For women, anything above 35 inches measured at the level of your belly button suggests excess visceral fat. For men, anything above 40 inches. The good news, and this is the most important number in this entire video, is that losing just 5% of your body weight has been shown in multiple studies to meaningfully reduce liver fat. For someone weighing 180 pounds, that is 9 pounds. Not a dramatic transformation. A modest, achievable loss that produces real liver healing. Losing 10% of body weight reverses fatty liver in many cases entirely. The liver is one of the most regenerative organs in the body. When you stop overloading it, it starts repairing itself. And here is the thing nobody is going to tell you at your annual checkup. Sometimes the warning signs of advancing liver damage are subtle and worth knowing. If you have noticed unexplained itching, particularly in the evenings, if your urine has been consistently darker than usual, if you have been bruising more easily, if your appetite has changed without explanation, if you feel a dull discomfort under the right side of your rib cage, if your eyes or skin have taken on a slight yellow tint, these can be signs that liver damage has progressed beyond simple fatty liver into something that needs medical attention. Not a reason to panic, a reason to call. When you do see your doctor, here are 3 simple things to ask for: ALT and AST. These are blood tests that show whether liver cells are being damaged. They are part of any standard blood panel. Ask to see the trend over the past few years. A GGT test. This is a more sensitive marker of liver stress than ALT and AST alone. Many doctors do not order it routinely, but it can catch problems earlier. An abdominal ultrasound. This is a simple, non-invasive imaging test that can show fat accumulation in the liver before it causes obvious symptoms. If your liver enzymes have been even slightly elevated, asking for an ultrasound is reasonable. In an ideal world, our doctors would be checking these things at every annual visit for prevention. But that is another story. As we get to the end of this video, let me give you a framework for actually putting all of this into practice. If you are already doing many of the right things, cooking most of your meals at home, walking regularly, sleeping reasonably well, maintaining a healthy weight, you are probably already doing more for your liver than most adults realize. The bottom line is that your liver does not need anything fancy. It needs you to stop making the deposits in that compound damage account, so it can finally start paying you back. So practically then, what I want you to do is start with one change today. Pick the habit on this list that describes you most, the one you knew was a problem before I even said it out loud. Start there. For most people, that is going to be the sugary drinks, the ultra-processed food, or the sedentary lifestyle. Pick whichever applies to you. Make one swap this week, just one. Drink water instead of soda. Cook a homemade dinner instead of ordering takeout. Take a 15-minute walk after dinner. Once that becomes routine, add a second change, then a third. Most adults can address 4 or 5 of these habits within 60 days if they go one at a time. A meta-analysis published in The Lancet pulled data from over 100 studies on lifestyle interventions for fatty liver. The results were clear. Adults who made consistent changes saw meaningful improvements in liver enzymes, liver fat, and overall metabolic health, often within 3 to 6 months. Alongside all of that, remember to feed your liver enough protein. Adults later in life often eat less protein than they should, which slows the liver's ability to repair itself. Aim for protein at every meal. Eggs at breakfast, fish or chicken at lunch, beans, tofu, or another quality source at dinner. The framework comes down to a few core principles. Eat mostly real food. Move every day. Sleep enough. Drink less alcohol. Pay attention to your body's signals. If you do that, you are not just protecting your liver. You are protecting your heart, your kidneys, your blood sugar, your sleep, your brain. Because all of these systems run through the liver, and they all benefit when the liver is working well. A serious liver problem in your 60s or 70s does not start in your 60s or 70s. It starts decades earlier with habits nobody warned you about. Now you know what those habits are. Now you can start changing them. Take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if someone you care about has been told their liver enzymes are slightly elevated, or has been struggling with their weight or their energy, share this with them. These are the conversations that matter. I will see you in the next one.